Welcome to Better Life Library. Today we present The Law of Assumption. Your mind shapes reality. Prelude, the power of assumption. Our minds are far more powerful than we often realize. Every day, we operate from a set of beliefs, some conscious, some deeply ingrained in our subconscious, that shape our experiences. We assume things about ourselves, our abilities, and the world around us without even thinking about it. These assumptions, whether empowering or limiting, become the foundation of our reality. The law of assumption teaches us one simple truth. What we consistently assume to be true manifests in our lives. This is not about luck, chance, or waiting for external forces to align in our favor. It's about recognizing that our assumptions are the driving force behind the opportunities we see, the challenges we face, and the results we experience. The way we think and the beliefs we hold influence the decisions we make, the actions we take, and ultimately the life we live. If you've ever felt stuck, whether in your career, relationships, or personal growth, you're not alone. Many people go through life reacting to circumstances instead of shaping them. But what if reality isn't something that just happens to us? What if we are constantly creating it, whether we realize it or not? The law of assumption gives us the power to take an active role in shaping our experiences by aligning our thoughts and beliefs with the reality we want. This book is designed for everyone, regardless of background or personal philosophy. Whether you see this as psychology, personal growth, or something more profound, the principles remain the same. Your mind shapes your experience. There is no prerequisite belief system required to use this in your life, only a willingness to explore how your thoughts influence your reality. As you move through this book, you'll learn how to identify the hidden assumptions that have shaped your life up to this point. Shift limiting beliefs into empowering ones that align with your goals. Embody the mindset of someone who already has what they desire. Persist in your new assumptions until they become your reality. This is not about wishful thinking or simply hoping for a better life. It's about understanding the power of your mind, making intentional shifts, and committing to a new way of thinking. By the time you finish this book, you will not only understand the law of assumption, you will have the tools to apply it in ways that create real, lasting change. You have more control over your reality than you think. The only question is, what will you assume to be true? Chapter 1. The Foundation of the Law of Assumption. Many people go through life believing that circumstances shape their reality. They attribute success to luck, failure to bad timing, and personal limitations to forces beyond their control. But what if the opposite were true? What if life isn't something that happens to you, but rather something that responds to you? The law of assumption suggests that our experiences are not random, but instead, they mirror our deepest beliefs and expectations. What we assume to be true, whether consciously or unconsciously, sets the course for the reality we live in. This idea may seem simple, yet its effects are profound. Every moment, our minds are filtering the world through the lens of our assumptions. If we assume that opportunities are scarce, we will overlook the ones right in front of us. If we assume that people are unkind, we will interpret even neutral interactions as negative. On the other hand, if we assume that we are capable, deserving, and supported, our actions will reflect that belief, and so will the way the world responds to us. What is the law of assumption? The law of assumption is the principle that what you assume to be true, what you truly believe on a deep level, will manifest in your reality. Unlike the law of attraction, which emphasizes attracting what you desire through energetic alignment, the law of assumption goes even deeper. It focuses on embodying the state of already having what you desire. It's not about wishing for something to happen. It's about assuming it has already happened and allowing reality to catch up to that belief. This concept may sound abstract, but it plays out in practical, everyday ways. Consider someone who assumes they are lucky. Without effort, they tend to notice opportunities, meet helpful people, and navigate challenges with confidence. On the other hand, someone who assumes they are unlucky will constantly reinforce that belief, focusing on setbacks, ignoring possibilities, and hesitating when action is needed. Both individuals live in the same world, yet their experiences are shaped by their assumptions. The same principle applies to personal success, relationships, and self-worth. If you assume you are successful, you will naturally act in ways that lead to success. If you assume people like you, you will carry yourself with warmth and confidence, leading to more positive interactions. Your mind is always working to prove you right, So the key is to make sure your assumptions are aligned with the reality you want to experience. How it works in daily life. Our assumptions influence our daily lives in subtle yet powerful ways. From the way we interpret events to the actions we take, our beliefs set the foundation for our experiences. Imagine two people walking into the same job interview. One assumes they are the perfect candidate, while the other assumes they are underqualified. The first person speaks with confidence, engages naturally, and leaves a strong impression. The second hesitates, second-guesses their answers, and downplays their strengths. In the end, their assumptions shape not only their behavior, but also the outcome of the interview itself. The law of assumption works in relationships as well. Someone who assumes they are always overlooked may find themselves withdrawing from social situations, unintentionally reinforcing their own isolation. Meanwhile, a person who assumes they are valued and appreciated will naturally connect with others in a way that strengthens their relationships. The difference isn't in external circumstances, it's in the assumptions each person carries. This concept can also explain why patterns seem to repeat in our lives. If we assume that financial struggle is inevitable, we may make choices that keep us in a cycle of scarcity. If we assume that love is difficult to find, we may unconsciously push away potential partners. The mind creates self-fulfilling prophecies, shaping our reality to match what we believe to be true. Why this is a mental shift, not magic. It's important to understand that the law of assumption is not about wishful thinking or ignoring reality. It doesn't mean that simply assuming you are wealthy will instantly make money appear, or that assuming you are confident will erase years of self-doubt overnight. Instead, it's about making an internal shift that changes the way you interact with the world, ultimately leading to new outcomes. When you assume something to be true, your mind and body begin aligning with that assumption. You think differently, speak differently, and take actions that reflect your belief. Over time, these small changes compound, creating tangible results. For example, if someone assumes they are successful, they will naturally take risks, seek opportunities, and handle setbacks with resilience. If someone assumes they are capable of overcoming challenges, they will persist where others might give up. This process isn't about controlling every external event. It's about controlling how we interpret and respond to those events. Challenges will still arise, but our assumptions determine whether we see them as obstacles or as stepping stones to growth. The law of assumption shifts our mindset in a way that opens doors, removes self-imposed limitations, and allows us to step into the reality we truly want. If you look closely at your life, you may start to see patterns, things that seem to happen over and over again, relationships that play out in the same way, or challenges that seem to repeat. These patterns are often the result of long-held assumptions, shaping your experiences without you even realizing it. The good news is, just as assumptions can create limiting realities, they can also create empowering ones. Once you understand the law of assumption, you can begin identifying and shifting the beliefs that may have been holding you back. Chapter 2: Reprogramming Your Mind for Success. Every day, we operate based on assumptions, many of which we don't even realize we have. These assumptions shape our decisions, our interactions, and ultimately our lives. Some of them serve us well, pushing us toward growth and success. Others, however, hold us back, reinforcing patterns of doubt, limitation, and struggle. Most of these assumptions were formed early in life. We absorb them from our families, teachers, society, and past experiences. Over time, they become so ingrained that we stop questioning them. If someone grew up believing that success is only for a select few, they may never strive for ambitious goals. If they were taught that relationships are full of conflict, they may unconsciously recreate those patterns in their own connections. The good news? Assumptions are not permanent. They can be rewritten. Just as the mind was programmed with certain beliefs, it can be reprogrammed with new ones that align with success, confidence, and fulfillment. The key is to become aware of the assumptions shaping your reality and replace the ones that no longer serve you. This chapter will guide you through that process, providing practical steps to shift your mindset and create a new foundation for success. Identifying hidden assumptions. Before you can change limiting beliefs, you need to recognize them. The challenge is that many of these assumptions operate in the background, influencing your behavior without your conscious awareness. The first step to reprogramming your mind is to bring these hidden assumptions to the surface. Step 1. Examine your patterns. Look at different areas of your life, your finances, career, relationships, health, and personal growth. Identify recurring patterns, especially ones that feel frustrating or limiting. Ask yourself, what results am I consistently experiencing? E.g., always struggling with money, repeatedly facing rejection, feeling stuck in career growth. What do I believe about this area of my life? E.g., making money is hard. People always leave. I'm not smart enough to succeed. Where did this belief come from? Did you hear it growing up? Did a past experience reinforce it? Step 2. Listen to your self-talk. Pay attention to the way you speak to yourself, both out loud and in your mind. Often, our assumptions reveal themselves in the way we talk about our abilities and circumstances. Notice phrases like, "I'll never be able to do that. I've always been bad with money. Things never work out for me." These statements reflect unconscious assumptions. The more you repeat them, the more they solidify as truth in your mind. Step 3. Challenge the assumption. Once you've identified a limiting belief, question its validity. Ask yourself, is this belief based on fact, or is it just something I've accepted as true? Have there been moments where the opposite was true? For example, if you assume you're bad at relationships, recall times when you had meaningful, positive connections. What would I believe instead if I had never been taught this assumption? By simply questioning a limiting belief, you start weakening its hold on you. The power of mental rehearsal. Once you've identified limiting beliefs, the next step is to replace them with empowering ones. One of the most effective ways to do this is through mental rehearsal, a technique used by athletes, performers, and high achievers to train the mind for success. Mental rehearsal involves visualization, scripting, and intentional thought patterns that reinforce your desired reality. When done consistently, this process helps the mind accept new assumptions as truth. Step 4. Create a new assumption. Choose a belief that aligns with the reality you want to experience. Instead of saying, "I'll never be successful," shift to, "Success comes naturally to me. I always find the right opportunities at the right time. I am confident and capable in everything I do." This new assumption should feel believable yet expansive, something that stretches your mindset without triggering doubt. Step 5. Use visualization to reinforce the new belief. Close your eyes and imagine yourself already living the reality created by your new assumption. Picture the details vividly. How do you look and carry yourself? What emotions do you feel? How do others respond to you? What actions are you taking from this new state of belief? Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between imagined experiences and real ones. The more you mentally rehearse success, the more natural it becomes. Step 6. Write it into reality. Scripting. Scripting is another powerful way to reinforce new assumptions. Each day, write as if you are already living your desired reality. Instead of saying, "I want to be successful," write, "I am thriving in my career, effortlessly attracting new opportunities. I wake up feeling confident, knowing that life is working in my favor." This process rewires the brain, making the new assumption feel more real. Daily practices to shift beliefs. Reprogramming your mind isn't a one-time event, it's a daily practice. Small, consistent actions strengthen new beliefs until they become second nature. Step 7. Affirm and speak your new assumptions. Your words shape your reality, so use them intentionally. Each day, affirm your new assumptions with conviction. Examples include, "Everything is working out in my favor. I am deserving of success, love, and happiness. I move through life with confidence and certainty." Say these affirmations in the mirror, write them in a journal, or record them and listen throughout the day. Step 8. Act as if. Your actions should align with your new assumption. If you assume you are confident, how would you walk into a room? If you assume success is inevitable, how would you approach challenges? Start embodying this mindset now, even before external results appear. Step 9. Redirect negative thoughts. When old assumptions creep back in, consciously redirect them. If you catch yourself thinking, "I'll never be able to do this," stop and replace it with, "I am more than capable, and I always figure things out." Over time, this becomes automatic. Step 10. Be patient and persistent. Reprogramming the mind takes time, but every effort compounds. Stay committed to your new assumptions, even if external reality hasn't caught up yet. The key is persistence. The more you reinforce a belief, the stronger it becomes. Your mind is your most powerful tool. The assumptions you hold, whether consciously or unconsciously, are shaping your reality every single day. But the best part? You have the ability to change them. By identifying limiting beliefs, challenging them, and replacing them with empowering assumptions, you are taking control of your life in a way most people never do. This process requires awareness, intention, and consistency, but the results are undeniable. As you practice these steps, you'll begin to notice a shift, not just in your thoughts, but in the way the world responds to you. The next step is to fully embody these new assumptions, stepping into the mindset and identity of the person who already has what they desire. That's what we'll explore in the next chapter. Chapter 3: Embodying the Assumption. Becoming the person you wish to be. Most people wait for life to give them proof before they believe something is possible. They want to see the success before they feel successful. They want love before they feel worthy of it. They want confidence before they act boldly. But the law of assumption flips this thinking entirely. Instead of waiting for external validation, you must first become the person who naturally attracts the life you desire. You must assume now what you want to experience, even before reality catches up. This is where most people struggle, not because the principle doesn't work, but because they hesitate to fully commit to it. Doubts creep in. Old thought patterns resurface. The temptation to test the assumption rather than fully embody it becomes strong. But the truth is, the law of assumption only works when you commit completely. It's not about pretending or forcing anything. It's about fully stepping into the mindset, energy, and behavior of the person who already has what they desire. Living as if. Imagine two people walking into a high-end restaurant. One assumes they belong there. They move through the space effortlessly, making eye contact, engaging with ease, and exuding confidence. The other person assumes they don't belong. They hesitate at the entrance, feel out of place, and shrink into themselves. The restaurant hasn't changed, but the experience each person has is completely different, all because of what they assume to be true about themselves. This is the essence of living as if. If you assume success, you will think and act like a successful person long before you see the external results. If you assume you are already deeply loved, you will carry yourself with a sense of self-worth that transforms your interactions. When you shift your inner world, the outer world eventually follows. Take James, for example. James had spent years believing he wasn't leadership material. He saw himself as a hard worker, but not someone who could confidently take charge. Every time a promotion opportunity came up, he assumed someone else was better suited for the role. And sure enough, time and time again, he was passed over. One day, James decided to experiment with the law of assumption. Instead of hoping for a promotion, he started assuming he was already the kind of person who got promoted. He didn't fake it or try to be someone he wasn't. He simply asked himself, if I were already a leader, how would I think, speak, and behave? He began contributing more in meetings, not because he was trying to impress anyone, but because he assumed his input was valuable. He started handling projects with more authority, making decisions with confidence instead of waiting for permission. His posture changed, his energy shifted, and within months, people began treating him differently. His manager noticed. His colleagues sought his advice. And soon enough, when a leadership position opened, he was the natural choice. The promotion wasn't luck. It wasn't even about skills. James had always been capable. The only difference was that he finally assumed he was the kind of person who belonged in that role, and his actions aligned accordingly. This is the key to living as if. It's not about forcing change, but aligning with the reality you want to experience. The world responds to who you are, not just what you wish for. Overcoming doubt and resistance. Of course, shifting your assumptions doesn't mean doubts won't creep in. In fact, they almost certainly will. The mind naturally resists change, preferring the comfort of familiar patterns, even if those patterns are limiting. This is why so many people start practicing the law of assumption, but quickly retreat when reality doesn't shift overnight. Doubt usually shows up in two forms: internal resistance and external reality. Internal resistance is that voice in your head saying, "This isn't working. Who do you think you are?" It's the old belief system trying to reassert itself. When this happens, the key is to acknowledge the doubt without accepting it as truth. Instead of giving in, remind yourself, I don't need proof right now. My assumption is the proof. Then there's external reality, when circumstances don't yet reflect the new assumption. This is where most people waver. They look for signs that their new belief is working, and when they don't see immediate results, they fall back into old assumptions. But here's the truth: reality takes time to shift. The external world is simply a reflection of past assumptions, and it may take a while for the new assumption to take form. Imagine planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it, trust the process, and eventually it sprouts. The same is true here. You must hold firm to your assumption, even when external reality hasn't caught up yet. The role of consistency and commitment. Embodying your assumption isn't something you try once and forget about. It's a commitment. Every day, you reinforce your new belief with your thoughts, your actions, and your attitude. This is why consistency is crucial. Without it, old patterns creep back in. Think of it like strengthening a muscle. The first time you work out, you don't see immediate results. But if you stay consistent, the transformation happens. The same is true with assumptions. The more you commit to them, the stronger they become. Let's go back to James. There were moments when his old doubts resurfaced. There were days when he questioned whether he was really leadership material. But instead of falling back into old habits, he reminded himself of his new assumption and acted accordingly. Every time doubt crept in, he reinforced his belief through his actions, until it became second nature. That's the secret. You don't wait for confidence to show up. You create it by consistently acting from the assumption that it's already there. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you truly embody a new assumption, you no longer have to convince yourself of it. It becomes your natural state. Just like James no longer had to tell himself he was a leader. He simply was. The law of assumption is not about waiting for life to prove something to you. It's about stepping into the version of yourself that already has what you desire, right now. When you do this, the world adjusts to match your new identity. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. Doubts may arise. External reality may not shift immediately. But the more you commit to your new assumption, the more natural it becomes. And before you know it, the person you assumed you were will no longer be an assumption. It will simply be who you are. Chapter 4. Sustaining and expanding your new reality. By now, you've seen how the law of assumption works, not just in theory, but in practice. You've recognized how your past assumptions shaped your experiences, learned how to reprogram limiting beliefs, and stepped into the identity of someone who already has what they desire. This shift is powerful, but transformation isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous process. Your new assumptions are like a freshly planted garden. At first, they require care, attention, and reinforcement. Without maintenance, old thought patterns, the weeds, can creep back in. The key to lasting change is making your new mindset your default. When this happens, you no longer have to remind yourself of your assumptions. They become second nature. This chapter focuses on keeping your new reality intact and using the law of assumption to expand into even greater possibilities. When you treat this as a way of life rather than a temporary experiment, success becomes inevitable. Reinforcing your assumptions. At first, embodying new beliefs requires conscious effort. You may still catch glimpses of old doubts or notice moments when your thoughts slip back into past patterns. This is completely normal. The brain is wired to return to familiar thought loops, but with awareness, you can redirect them before they take hold. Reinforcing your assumptions means treating them as absolute truths, not ideas you test out and abandon when circumstances don't immediately align. Reality takes time to adjust, but consistency strengthens the new belief until it becomes automatic. One way to solidify new assumptions is through self-awareness. Throughout the day, check in with yourself. Are my thoughts supporting my assumption? Am I reacting to life as my new self or falling back into old habits? How would the version of me, who already has this, think and respond? Each time you catch an old assumption trying to resurface, you have a choice. Reinforce the new belief or slip back into the old one. Choose the one that aligns with the reality you are creating. Another powerful method of reinforcement is environmental alignment. Surround yourself with things, people, and experiences that reflect your new assumptions. If you assume success, spend time in places where successful people gather. If you assume confidence, speak and engage with others as if you've always been that way. The more your external environment reflects your internal assumptions, the more solidified they become. Scaling your success. Once you've successfully applied the law of assumption to one area of your life, you'll realize that there are no limits. What started as a mindset shift in one aspect, perhaps career, finances, or self-image, can be expanded into every part of your existence. The same principles apply, whether your goal is to elevate your health, attract meaningful relationships, or create financial abundance. The key to scaling success is to normalize growth. Many people assume they can only go so far before they hit a ceiling, fearing that they'll lose what they've gained or that they've reached the peak of what's possible for them. But the law of assumption doesn't stop working once you achieve one goal. It continues to work as long as you continue to apply it. Think of someone who used the law of assumption to become financially stable. At first, they may have assumed they could only earn just enough to be comfortable. But once they reached that level, they realized they could expand their assumption further, believing that wealth was abundant, not just accessible. With that shift, new opportunities began to appear, and financial success grew beyond what they originally thought possible. The same is true for confidence, relationships, and personal fulfillment. The moment you assume you've reached your limit, you create a new boundary for yourself. But if you continue to expand your assumptions, you'll find that growth never truly stops. To scale your success, ask yourself, what's the next level of assumption I can adopt? If I've already achieved this, what else is possible for me? Am I playing small when I could be thinking bigger? When you operate from the mindset that growth is infinite, life will continuously provide you with opportunities to expand, helping others apply the law. Once you've experienced the power of the law of assumption, you'll likely notice something interesting. Others will start to take notice too. They'll see the way you carry yourself, the way life seems to unfold effortlessly for you, and they'll wonder how you're doing it. This presents an opportunity to not only reinforce your own beliefs, but also to uplift and inspire others. The best way to help others apply the law of assumption isn't by forcing the concept on them, but by embodying it yourself. People are drawn to confidence, certainty, and ease. When they see you living proof of a transformed reality, they'll naturally become curious. If someone asks how you've changed, keep it simple. Share your experience, not as something magical, but as a shift in thinking. Encourage them to examine their own assumptions and how they might be shaping their life. Remind them that their reality is within their control, even if they've never considered it before. Not everyone will be ready to embrace this idea, and that's okay. Some will resist, clinging to their old belief systems. But for those who are open to change, even a small shift in assumption can lead to profound transformation. By helping others recognize the power of their own minds, you reinforce your own understanding of the law of assumption, deepening your belief and solidifying it as your way of life. The law of assumption is not just a technique, it's a way of seeing and experiencing the world. Once you realize the power of your assumptions, you can never go back to living unconsciously. Every thought, every expectation, and every assumption you hold shapes your reality. By reinforcing your new beliefs, continuously expanding your assumptions, and sharing your knowledge with others, you create a cycle of growth that never ends. This isn't about forcing change or controlling outcomes. It's about aligning with the reality you choose and allowing life to unfold accordingly. Now, as you move forward, the only question that remains is, what will you assume next?